August 29th, 2008. Where were you the morning Republican presidential nominee John McCain announced that Sarah Palin, governor of Alaska, would be his running mate? The memorable moment left many Americans excited and many others angry, but it seems almost all were in disbelief. Quoting CNN, that morning redefined how vice presidential candidates influence a campaign. Robert Thompson, a television, radio, film professor at Syracuse University and a renowned pop culture expert, sums up Sarah Palin's first moments on the world stage.
The minute she was announced, you knew that she was going to become the most famous person in the country. It was like the presidential campaign season starring Sarah Palin, co-starring Barack Obama, also starring John McCain, and then way down that other guy.
Thompson says Palin had the personality, the looks, the charming biographical details, and the overall star factor that could allow her to take the country by storm. So how did the Sarah Palin factor contribute to making the 2008 election season so contentious? What happened that made her embody the phrase, you love her or you hate her? Looking back on it now, it may be hard to remember a time when virtually no one in the continental United States even knew who the governor of Alaska was. But Vinnie Napolitano did. The Syracuse University graduate and self-proclaimed political junkie jumped on the Palin bandwagon when she first ran for governor in 2006. The young Republican said at the time he was looking to see corrupt members of his party taken out of office, including Alaska's governor, Frank Murkowski.
And when he was primaried by Sarah Palin, someone who had worked for him as an ethics commissioner and resigned in protest, I fell in love with her.
Napolitano, who has spoken to Palin both in person and on the phone, says it's hard not to feel that way about her.
I've worked for many politicians and met many politicians who give you a handshake or talk to you, and they talk to you like you're an idiot. She talks to you dead on like she's talking to a friend. She's very engaging. She doesn't push you aside for a more important person who walks over, and she never came off as that traditional good old boy politician who just cares about themselves. She genuinely seems to care about people.
This persona is exactly what Palin displayed at the Republican National Convention when she accepted her nomination, where CNN said she, quote, presented herself as both a small-town mother of 5 and a pit bull who could smile her way through a sharp political attack.
I had the privilege of living most of my life in a small town. I was just your average hockey mom and signed up for the PTA. I love those hockey moms. You know, they say the difference between a hockey mom and a pit bull? Lipstick.
After the convention, a Real Clear Politics average showed that McCain was enjoying a 10-point lead in the polls over Democratic nominee Barack Obama, his most substantial lead all season. An average of ABC, Rasmussen, and Diego polls also showed that 50% of Americans thought positively of the Palin choice, and a New York Times CBS poll showed that the same percentage said they were enthused about the Republican ticket, twice what it was before the convention. But in a presidential campaign, a solid first impression isn't enough. The American public waited for weeks for the McCain campaign to allow Palin to do her first network interviews, and they tuned in to see a little different Sarah Palin than they saw at the convention. She was criticized after her first interview with Charles Gibson on ABC World News for her answers to questions about foreign policy and the Bush Doctrine.
They're our next-door neighbors, and you can actually see Russia from land here in Alaska.
Do you agree with the Bush Doctrine?
In what respect, Charlie?
A few weeks later, Katie Couric of CBS Evening News was also granted an exclusive interview with Palin, which will likely go down in history as one of America's most remembered political interviews. This time, audiences saw Palin make some gaffes.
I was curious, what newspapers and magazines did you regularly read before you were tapped for this to stay informed and to understand the world?
I've read most of them, again, with a great appreciation for the press, for the media.
Like what one specifically, I'm curious that you...
all of them, any of them that have been in front of me over all these years.
I'm just going to ask you one more time, not to belabor the point, specific examples in his 26 years of pushing for more regulation.
I'll try to find you some and I'll bring them to you.
One of the reasons this interview will be implanted in people's memories was because it was parodied to rave reviews and record-breaking audiences on Saturday Night Live by Palin's celebrity lookalike, Tina Fey.
Katie, I'd like to use one of my lifelines. I'm sorry? I want to phone a friend. You don't have any lifelines. Well, in that case, I'm just gonna have to get back to you.